So let's start off talking about the reason why I believe we're all here today, which is Swamp Thing, and we are a comic book outlet, so it makes sense for us to talk about the show. So to get started, let's talk a little bit about how you got the role. Like, were you a comic book fan? Did you even know what you were reading for when you were auditioning? Tell me about that.
I had become more a comic book fan in the last, well, actually since Sharknado started, because I started going to all these Comic-Cons, and I've always been a fan of superheroes and the supernatural and all things comic book related, and the art, of course. And then when I would have a break from my table at one of these Comic-Cons, I would go and peruse the comic book aisles and was amazed. The fans are like the most supportive fans, the most staunch fans. They start from when they begin reading all the way until the oldest fan that's out there, which is you die being a fan. And when I got an audition for a DC superhero called Daniel Cassidy, who turns into the Blue Devil, I did a deep dive into the folklore, and I found, oh my God, this is a reluctant superhero. He's not even really a superhero. He's more like a super demon who uses his powers for good and not evil, but not like Batman, not like he's going to leave everybody in handcuffs or the cops come by. No, this dude leaves everybody in a bloodbath. He just obliterates everybody, and he's indestructible, and he's durable, and he's got these powers, and he's got these horns, and it's... I'm like, okay, the audition's tomorrow. Let me learn the lines. Couldn't believe it. My heart was racing with all the excitement that I had as an 8-year-old boy in watching superhero movies. Flash, Captain America, Superman, Batman. I was auditioning for a DC superhero in the Swamp Thing universe. It was like ice cream with an extra layer of candy. That's how good it was. To say I was excited is really an understatement. I was nervous. I'm in this business 44 years. I don't get nervous. I do the best I can and I move on. But like, oh my God, I was so nervous. I didn't care. I worked on the material. I had a friend come over and workshop the scenes with me. I wanted to make sure I delivered what I intended to do. And then it wasn't an audition where you're put on tape for the director to see by a casting agent. No, this was directly in the room, in a theater room in Warner Brothers on the lot. And Mark Verheiden was there. Some other people from James Wan's company were there. People from Warner Brothers, DC were there. I was like, oh my God, this wasn't even a callback. This was the first audition. And I went in, and there were 3 scenes, and I felt like I nailed them. I went out of there, and I told everybody, look, I'm a huge fan of Swamp Thing. I wish you the best with this project. I can't wait to see it, whether I'm in it or not. And that's where I left, thinking like, oh my God, please, please, please. And then that night, crickets. Nothing. I got no feedback, nothing. Next morning, get a call from my agent. You got the part. And that's when my whole world went digital delay, slow motion, as I'm picking up my head and I'm looking like down the hall into my closet, and it's like superhero capes, and it's like I started this fantasy in my own head. Holy shit, what is happening? I can't believe I booked a DC project. I can't believe that I was working with top of the food chain producers like James Wan, Len Weissman, people that have created $100 million multiples of $100 million movies that are just, oh my God. And then I have to go to Fractured Effects out here in California, where they're going to fit me and do all these measurements and put latex all over my body so they can make the Blue Devil costumes for me. And that day was unbelievable. I walk in there and there's like all Jason Momoa's suits from Aquaman, and I'm realizing, holy shit, this is as good as it gets. Fractured Effects does next level industry disruptive work, things that no one has seen before. And when I saw a picture of what they were going to do for Blue Devil, I was stunned. I couldn't. The little 8-year-old boy in me is like pounding on my heart. It's causing my goosebumps to rise on my forearms. It's just the hair in the back. I was so ridiculously excited. I had to be cool. I had to be cool. But man, it was unbelievable. And then to go back and have a fitting after they measured my hands and measured my face and my whole upper body and put this appliance in my mouth and fit me for these sclera contact lenses and not just cover the iris of my eye, but cover the whites. It's like wearing a tent on your eyeballs. So it's like when I put that suit on, it was transformative. As an actor, your job is to act naturally in imaginary circumstances. And as a human, you try and relate with similar circumstances in previous experiences, whatever you can to give you a foothold into that character. But when you play the Blue Devil and your persona is wiped, there was nothing visible of Ian whatsoever. It transforms you. It transforms you. I didn't talk much when I was in character. Derek Mears, when he was suited up as the Swamp Thing, didn't talk much. Got nothing to say. It's literally transformative.
So actually, I wanted to pick up on something you said a little earlier, because Blue Devil, he's not Batman or Superman. He's like, this isn't a role where there has been an actor who has played this character before. Like, you're
right.
Pioneering this. So what did that sort of flexibility allow you to do with the character?
You know, I spoke to the writers, Mark Verheiden, spoke to the other staff writers, what the intent, what the subtext was with this guy. And ultimately, he's a reluctant superhero. You know, Daniel Cassidy made a deal with the Phantom Stranger to get a leading role in a movie that he was just stunt working for the lead as the Blue Devil. And then it traps him in town. So begrudgingly, he stays there, not because he's committed to doing the job, but because he's trapped. Because he's made the deal with this guy. And every time he goes to leave town, he catches fire. So he's not moving anywhere out of this town until he fulfills his end of the bargain, which is to protect some woman who he's not even sure of who it is. And then when Abby Arcane comes to town, he realizes she's special, doesn't know what. It's kind of like an intuition thing. And then at this big party in Moray, sees that she's going to be shot by the sheriff, played by Jennifer Beals. Gets her out of the way, thinks he's fulfilled his bargain with the Phantom Stranger, and now he can leave. And he gets in his 69 Chevelle, so badass, and like flies to the border and like does 100-foot skid right to where the camera was, right to the camera. It was unbelievable. Gets out, puts his hand to see if the border is going to make him catch fire again. He screams to the Phantom Stranger, "Hey, I fulfilled my bargain. I can go now, right?" But there's no answer. He pushes a little further, and then he goes to push through, but then incinerates again. So he knows his job is not done. And ultimately what he has to do is protect Abby Arcane from a group of mercenaries that are going to kill her, because she now knows why the swamp is so evil. And of course that secret can't get out. But when faced with having to stay and protect her, he's confined to his hospital bed, and the Phantom Stranger shows up and shows him the future. And he says, "Well, what am I supposed to do?" I said, "Well, you can save her or not. It's all up to you." And then at that very moment, he breaks through his chains, and we see the transition from Daniel Cassidy into the character he was playing. But it wasn't makeup within the context of the show, where there's a mask and he's got this cape. He turns into an actual demon with razor sharp horns, with demon teeth, with feet that are no longer human looking. That the suit was so amazing that it it again, as an actor, it's transformative. It leaves you nothing to work off of your human instincts. Now you've become another character, and he turns into this blue devil, and he transports somehow. We'll find out how transports to where he can protect Abby and Liz, who are together, and decimates, obliterates, creates a bloodbath of all these mercenaries that are trying to kill them. But then ultimately, when he wakes up back in his human form, he's still covered with blood. He knows what he's done. So Daniel is so interesting to me because while he's a good guy, he really just wants to get home to California and go surfing again. And he's trapped in a town where he turns into this demon and kills people. And he's not okay with that. He's a reluctant superhero. You know, he's fights for good in his own personal life. He's a good doer. But this demon that is within him, when he comes out, kills people. And Daniel's left to reconcile that. So it's kind of hard for him. There's so many different layers. The writers have done such an amazing job with Swamp Thing, because in projects like this, usually there's a race to the big set pieces, to the big explosions or the big reveals. And because there's always a race to these things, because you only have a finite amount of time, you kind of lose the ability to create depth of character. There's no time for that exposition. But the writers on Swamp Thing do it in a way that informs you, that touches you, that makes you care about each of these characters, and there's a lot of them, and still delivers science fiction horror on a level that's never been seen before on television. It's amazeballs. It's mostly practical makeup effects. It's not done in the camera. There's a little bit of that, but most of it is done through the artistry of Fractured Effects, through the artistry of the cinematographers, the lighting, and the director. Amazing, amazing television.
It was a really stunning looking series, but I want to actually jump ahead to the end because, I mean, as I understand it, the show was cut from 13 episodes to 10
Right.
towards the end very suddenly. Now, do you at any point like talk to the writers and get a glimpse of where Daniel would have gone in those episodes? Like, could you tease a little bit like what we could have seen on the show had it continued?
You know, I think what we saw was maybe a more condensed version of what they had planned. When we go out on Daniel Cassidy, he has saved Abby Arcane, and he does leave the boundaries of Moray, but he stops suddenly and he gets back. He gets out of the car and he looks back at Moray and he looks down the road to the possibilities, and he looks back and we don't know where he ends up. I think that was always the intention. It's either a point where they would distance themselves from the character, or they would invest in him, either in making him a bigger part of Moray or breaking Daniel Cassidy off into his own series. I mean, it's entirely possible. It's a huge cliffhanger. Everyone who has seen it has said, what the hell happens with Daniel? What's going on? I want to see more. Everybody wants to see more. I mean, selfishly, it's not even selfishly, whether I would just like to see more episodes made. Whether my character is in the universe of Swamp Thing, it would be a blessing because I would get to work with such amazing people. I really care about these actors. We were all in it to win it. Everyone came to set prepared. There were no prima donnas. There was no arrogance. It was all, hey man, grab the rope, get your back into it, and let's tow this mother. And everybody gave it 110%. It was unbelievable. I've never in my entire career worked with a group of people, both in front of the camera and behind and in the writing room and produce. Everybody was so committed to creating quality content on a level that's never before seen. I've never, ever seen that before. It would be unbelievable to continue with Swamp Thing. But then also, it would be great to see what would happen in a Blue Devil universe. You know, I would hope that I'd be able to work with some of the same people, that it would be crossovers, but I don't know. There's a huge cliffhanger, and ultimately it's the fan nation. It's the fan universe that's going to dictate what ultimately happens with not just Swamp Thing, but with the Blue Devil.
So obviously you're super interested in playing this character again. Have you thought about what you would want to see from that? Like, do you have like a dream story arc for Daniel?
You know, I get so excited with the present. When I read the script, it comes alive in my mind. I start seeing what's happening. I start playing it. I start wondering what's going to happen to my character. That I think if I looked down the road at what was possible, I might trip up. So I tend not to think about what the future holds, because I still want to stay in the present to help me convey a sense of just reality within this imaginary circumstance. I don't want to know what's going to happen until I have to do it, because I don't want to be steered in that way. I don't want to raise an eyebrow to create suspicion or any foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is great. Swamp Thing doesn't do that. It doesn't. It is not campy at all. It's real. It's guttural. It's authentic. It's in your face horror on a level that's never been seen before, not just in film, but even less in TV. This is going to be a game changer. This is going to be industry disruptive for television. And the fact that there's a limited amount of episodes to be seen, I'm kind of thinking there's going to be a riot in the streets.
Now, of course, the show has ended up on the CW. Our readers are huge fans of the Arrowverse. So, like, you know, all the Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, like all of those shows. Would you be interested in bringing the Blue Devil to those shows?
You know, any opportunity to bring Daniel Cassidy to life again in any medium through any story would be welcomed. He's a very complex character. The fact that he is reluctant at being able to save people's lives because of the methods in which he does it. There's so much to play here, so much to work with, that you know, I think that there's room for years of expository scenes and of expository scenarios that you know, it could go on. There's also the Justice League Dark, you know, where all these guys team up. That would be amazing. You know, there's literally no end to the creativity. They're only limited by creativity. And the people that I've been working with, especially the writers, I've never met a more creative group, a more successful, top of the food chain writing room in any project. It's also skewed a little bit to what I really like, science fiction. You know, it's not like romantic comedy, which is fun, but man, I could live on a diet of science fiction. As you know, I'm sure a lot of the people that are watching this could today. You know, this is the water that I like to swim in. This is the lane that I like to stay in. You know, as an actor, you don't always have these choices, but I'm relishing every moment, and also the resurrection on the CW network. And I'm so excited for this to finally be seen by millions of people, because, you know, this excitement is organic. I'm not pushing this at all. I am thoroughly passionate about it because I know how hard we worked, and I've seen the results, and it's worthy of this excitement. It's worthy of the time that people are going to invest in watching this. And it fires on every cylinder and delivers on every level.
So that's the really exciting thing about the move to me, is that a lot more people are going to be seeing this.
Oh yeah.
For the first time. So what would you want new viewers to know about the series before they sat down to watch it for the first time?
I don't want them to know anything. I want them to approach this with a clean slate, without any preconceived notions from prior experiences to any comic book. Let's start with a clean slate. Let's start with something strange is happening in Moray, Louisiana, and let's go from there.
And on the totally other end of the spectrum, and I think this is where I'm gonna wrap up today, but what do you hope viewers take away from Swamp Thing season 1? Like, what is the message you want them to go home with once they've finished watching it?
I want them to feel moved. Not an emotional, I'm going to cry kind of way, but moved in a way that is going to make it. I feel Swamp Thing raises the bar on many levels. In writing, in execution, lighting, direction, set pieces, superhero characters. I want people to expect more after they see this. I want people to know that they should demand this kind of programming, this kind of level of quality content, because there's so much junk out there. You know, I've got 2 little girls, and, you know, not that this is appropriate for them, but there's quality programming out there, but they don't necessarily see it. This is going to change the way people watch TV. This is going to force production companies to raise the bar, to bring quality content, quality scripted content. I want to see more scripted content. I want people to want more scripted content. I've had enough of these reality shows. You know what? They're entertaining, but it's like, it's so self-serving. Look at me, I'm Sandra Dee, and I'm better than you. And it's not. I don't want my kids to be raised in that world. I want my kids to be raised in a world where people don't strive for likes, that don't use filters to hide their imperfections. Life is imperfect. I want people to be okay with that. And I want people to watch this show because there are no filters, because there are imperfections. These characters are flawed. This is not Chutes and Ladders, Candyland kind of mindless entertainment. This is thought-provoking. This is inspiring. It's groundbreaking television. And I want people to demand more from their viewing, to look for better programming that's out there, because we're flooded with so much crap. And I want to see everyone who watches this at the next Comic-Con I go to, because I'm going to be there as soon as this pandemic crap flies away. Please God, it should only happen soon. Well, enough of this global sorrow. Exactly. I just really appreciate the fan support, and I'm a fan too.